Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Our minister is Reverend Bob Janis-Dillon. I am Kathy Atwell, your worship assistant this morning. A big welcome to everyone, wherever you're joining from Zoom, here in the sanctuary, in your living room, bedroom, or your car. We're glad you were here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Wherever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ+ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigration Defense Network. And we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. We acknowledge that our sanctuary is built on the Lenape Nation's ancestral land. And Mary, would you like, do we have anyone visiting? Is there anyone new? If you are, stand up or wave your hand. We have some people from the membership committee who would love to talk to you after the service. If you'd like to contact someone at UU Catskills, the contact list is shown on the screen. If you are a visitor and would like to be added to we encourage you to read our September newsletter that is distributed through our email list and posted online at our website. Before the service, we looped some of the things, many things that are going on this week. I did have one announcement that I'm to read, 9/11 today and 9/18. Mistakes and miracles are kick off all congregational activity for consideration of the 8th UU principles. For more information, go to the website and click on 8th principle link. If you need help with the purchase of this book, let the office know. Discussion begins in October. Okay. We have community circles that connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 8 circles in different areas who meet regularly, in person or in Zoom. If you'd like to get in touch with one of the circles in your area, please contact the office administrator. Assisting with today's service is Kristen Shara, who's the tech host at home, and Tom Hackett, who I forgot. Sorry, here I'm blathering away and there's problems behind me. After the service, please stay for our breakout rooms on the virtual coffee and for our actual coffee and treats out in the breezeway. Past that. I forgot Tom's name. And next. The prelude. Now we have the prelude. And Catherine's going to take it from here. Thank you.
Joining online. Are you glad to be here today? Okay, I was still waking up, but I won't do the thing where I say it twice and 3 times. But good to be together. We're going to start our service as we do. At the beginning of our service each week, we light the chalice, which is a symbol of inspiration and the fire of love. And Jake and Amel are going to light our chalice this morning. And as we do, I invite us to say our chalice lighting words together. We light this chalice in grateful living community. Even in the darkest of times, may it flame like paths to courage, justice, and hope. And now we'll say together our words of affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our opening words are by the poet Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and the poem is called The Rainmaker. You could be the water, for by the scent of water alone, the withered vine comes back to life. And thus, wherever the land is dry and hard, you could be the water. Or you could be the iron blade disking the earth open. Or you could be the acequia, the mother ditch, carrying the water from the river to the fields to grow the flowers for the farmers. Or you could be the honest engineer, mapping the dams that must be taken down and those dams which could remain to serve the venerable all instead of the very few. You could be the battered vessel for carrying the water by hand, or you could be the one who stores the water. You could be the one who protects the water, or the one who blesses it, or the one who pours it. Or you could be the tired ground that receives it. Or you could be the scorched seed that drinks it, or you could be the vine, green, growing over land in all your wild audacity. Poem The Rainmaker from Untie the Strong Woman by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Now we'll sing our opening song. It's number 209. It's right there behind you. It's "O Come, You Longing Thirsty Souls." Let us sing together. So we've got a story here today, and it's a story about two old friends. The only thing is, I forget the friend's name. Jenny, who was your friend? Who was one of your friends growing up?
Beverly.
Beverly? That's it, Beverly. And Catherine, who was one of your friends growing up?
Susie Johnson.
Susie Johnson. It was Beverly and Susie. Were two friends, and they used to play together all the time. They used to play in the creek and go swimming. They would run around the fields. They would play with their toys. This was a long time ago, so the toys were a little bit different like that. Troy, that's a cool toy. Yeah. So they would play together, and they loved each other. But then it so happened that Beverly was going to move away. She received news from her family that she was going to move away, and Susie was very sad, and so was Beverly. And this was back in the days where you couldn't send a WhatsApp message, and you couldn't even pick up the phone, and Beverly was going a long, long way. And they said, how are we going to stay in touch with each other? So they tried things. They tried a message in the bottle. Have you ever tried this? You put a message in the bottle, and they sent it, and they put it in the little lake that was by their houses. But they couldn't really figure out how to get it across the lake, much less across the ocean, which Beverly was crossing an ocean with her family. So Beverly and Susie were really sad, and the days got closer that Beverly was going to go away. And then Beverly said, I have an idea. When I go, all you have to do is just put just give a little kiss to the creek, and it will travel to me, and I will know you're there. How did that happen? And Susie said, I don't know, but we'll see. Well, it so happened that Beverly did move away, and they gave each other a big hug and exchanged some toys, and they moved away. And then it so happened that Susie was alone, and she was quite sad. But then she remembered, so she gave a little kiss to the little flowing creek. And the little flowing creek, and the little kiss wandered along. And then all of a sudden, it went down and all around into the big lake that was at the bottom, and it stayed at the lake for a while. But then it got dry, and it evaporated up into the sky, and it went to the sky, and then the wind blew it this way and that, and then it fell into the ocean, and it was with millions and millions of other little kisses and drops, and it went this way and that, and all the way along the ocean, and then it went up to the sky again, and a gentle breeze carried it. And Beverly was walking along one day, and she was thinking of her friend Susie Johnson. And she walked along, and wouldn't you know, it started to rain. Have you ever had one of those days where it starts to rain? I've had one recently. Today it's raining. And it started to rain, and that little kiss came down. And Susie felt it, and she knew that it was Beverly. And just as it happened, it rained a little bit later on Beverly as well, and she knew that. And they knew that even though they were a long, long way apart, that in the same time, they were still together. So they knew even though they were apart, they remembered each other, and the water remembered each of them. So, isn't that a lovely little story? Sometimes when it rains, maybe we can think of people who are far away and know that they're close in the rain as well.
Or when it dries.
Or when it dries, yeah.
When it dries, it goes up, but when it rains, it goes down.
That's right. Yeah, it's amazing. It goes up and then it goes down. It just kind of goes everywhere. The water, and it takes so many different forms. And so what we're doing today is we're going to bring water from all these different forms. This is a ceremony that goes back, a few decades in Unitarian Universalist tradition, and it's called the water ceremony or water communion. And what it involves is some people have brought water, and if you haven't brought water, don't worry, we've got this water that can represent any kind of water. It's gathered from the oceans and the lakes and the rivers and our tap. Don't drink this water because it's not too much to go. And I made it I didn't fill it all the way to the top. Does anyone know why I didn't fill it all the way to the top?
Why?
Because in Kingston right now it's a drought, and we're not supposed to use that much water. So we're being careful about water because water is really precious. So that makes this ceremony all the more precious, right? Because we do this together. So what I invite you to do, and you're welcome to take part online or in the sanctuary. If you don't want to take part, that's fine, but everyone is welcome to if you like to. And so I invite you to bring up a little water. If you have your own water, you can pour it in, or you can pour just a little of this water in our common bowl. And we'll make we don't need to make two lines, but just to save time, we'll use two vases there. And I invite you, if you wish, you can say a sentence, because there's a lot of us, about what your water represents. For those of you online, if you could put it in the chat, we'll be reading it and pouring water on your behalf at the end of this ceremony. So I invite you to go for it, and you can say, for instance, if you have a sentence, you might say, this water represents the waters of rejuvenation from Long Island Sound.
This water is from my new rain barrel.
This water is from my rain barrel.
Right mine.
This water is from the Kitty Water Spring, which flows all the time.
This is from my dog. This is from our vacation in Alabama.
Ooh, fun.
And this water represents a little bit of a very short shower I had in California this summer. I didn't really want to take away any of their precious water. And also, Paula Silby emailed me from Morocco and said to pour some water from Lake Bled, the most beautiful place she'd ever been in Slovenia.
This water is from my tap. It represents the water that's come from the Catskills by the aqueduct, and from before the Catskills, the universe.
This water represents the lack of water in the Catskill Creek and watching the blue heron standing above a little puddle, looking for fish that weren't there. And just thinking of all the animals that are suffering.
This is water partly is from our rain barrel, one of them, and then the rest of it is from our bird bath.
I definitely don't want to take that.
This water is from the rain we had about a week ago. That was a really good soak that I had prayed for so hard. And I'm still praying because it keeps all of us alive. The animals, the trees, everything.
This represents water from the Shagbark Creek in West Saugerties, and Shagbark Creek doesn't have a lot of water in it these days.
This water is in remembrance of my husband. This water is also from my rain barrel, and grateful for that. It dried up, but that torrential rain filled it up. I never had to use any water from my tap for watering my plants. So. This is water from a little stream that my dad always joked went, the water flowed upstream somehow. We laugh a lot.
We have virtual water from you Catskills, I'm not sure. Anyway, this virtual water comes from the Great Lakes, also known as the Fresh Coast. That's right. And some water from Ana Halat Gutierrez, water from a water communion at my hometown congregation a few years ago. It represents the compassion of community. Anyone else like to share water or like us to do on your behalf if you're...
The water isn't.
That's where it is. And you're probably wondering what we'll do with that water. We won't drink it, but after the service, I think we will pour it out at the memorial garden, and we'll think about it, because memorial gardens where we think about the past and the future, and so if anybody wants to join me, just pour it out. So we'll put a little more water, as we do with joys and sorrows, which we'll resume next week, to represent that many people are bringing not just water, but sorrows and concerns and memories and blessings and hopes, and all of them are gathered in this common bowl of our collective humanity, and a special bowl of this congregation. So now we have a reading. This one's by Thich Nhat Hanh, which Kathy will read for. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
So, let us look at a wave on the surface of the ocean. A wave is a wave. It has a beginning and an end. It might be high or low, more or less beautiful than the other waves. But a wave is, at the same time, water, and water is the ground of being of the wave. I think I'm getting feedback. It is important that a wave knows that she is water, and not just a wave. We too live our life as an individual. We believe that we have a beginning and an end, and that we are separate from other living beings. This is why the Buddha advised us to look more deeply in order to touch the ground of our being, which is nirvana. Everything bears deeply the nature of nirvana. Everything has been nirvanaized. That is the teaching of the Lotus Sutra. We look deeply and we touch the suchness of reality. Looking deeply into a pebble, flower, or our own joy, peace, sorrow, or fear, we touch the ultimate dimension of our being. And that dimension will reveal to us that the ground of our being has the nature of no birth and no death. We don't have to attain nirvana because we ourselves are always dwelling in nirvana. The wave does not have to look for water. It already is water. We are one with the ground of our being. Once the wave realizes that she is water, all of her fear vanishes. Once we touch the ground of our being, once we touch God or nirvana, we also receive the gifts of non-fear. Non-fear is the basis of true happiness. The greatest gift we can offer others is our non-fear. Living deeply every moment of our life, touching the deepest level of our being, this is the practice of Prananja Paramaya. It is crossing over by understanding, by insight.
We'll now have a time of contemplation. I'll have a spoken meditation followed by a couple of minutes of silence to be along with our personal prayers. And as we meditate, I invite you to take a breath, breathe in, and notice the presence of water. We have gathered the water from the four directions, poured it in our common bowl. Many different experiences we participated from many different homes and this sanctuary. It's maybe raining outside as we speak. Water is everywhere, and water is precious. We do not take lightly the gathering of the waters. We are from the waters. It takes gallons and gallons of water to keep the machines of our bodies going. There are rivers in your veins, tiny liquid pools in our organs, water helping us move our muscles. We are from the water. Let us cherish the water. Many are struggling today for holy source of life. May those who are struggling find tranquil streams gurgling along the difficult path. May those who mourn follow the river of sadness all the way until it reaches the ocean, an ocean of remembrance and also of peace. On this September 11th, our hearts are with those who died in that terrible act of violence, as well as all those who have died from violence since, and all the grieving families who are never the same again. We pray for the sweet rain of peace to fall on the fires of enmity and hatred. We know that justice and peace takes work, and we find inspiration from the strength of water. Water, one of the most powerful forces on earth, and yet so gentle. Water that slowly but steadily builds up until it overcomes all barriers. Finally, we give thanks for all the experiences represented in this common bowl and for this gathered congregation here today in person and online. And to all our lives that we get to live. Here's to life, l'chaim. Here's to all the experiences that make us human, the soft and the hard, the brilliant and the subtle. For all of life's challenges, it's good to be here, and we are grateful. We will now have a brief time of silent reflection. We now continue our time of reflection with a piece from our choir and gratitude to our choir today. Piece by Jason Shelton, The Water Remembers.
Remember
Cycles of life, blessing and strife, and the water remembers. Shower and snow, blessing and woe, and the water remembers. I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't have some kind of personal and heartfelt connection to water in some form. For many of us, it's the ocean. We only need to get within sort of that smelling distance of the ocean, and we start to hear it and maybe see the seagulls and get that smell of the brine, and we're transported. We instantly feel a sense of excitement or peace beyond all understanding. Or it could be a lake up in the mountains, perhaps the trickle of the waterfall, leaves drifting down along the gentle current of the creek, or the loudness of a thunderous rainstorm, or the quiet of a snowfall. Snow's basically water, right? We may want to dance in it, swim in it, quaff it, and drink it down. Speaking of which, shower underneath it, but we all have some deep love of water. Or am I wrong? If you're like, water, I could take it or leave it, to be honest. That's cool. We celebrate diversity here. I'm sorry that the sermon is so off the wrong track for you. But many of us, I do think, feel this deep connection to water, and it makes sense. We come from the water. As I said, we're in amniotic fluid in our mother's womb, just hanging out. And before that, we evolved from sea creatures many, many eons ago. And sure, we grew these handy legs and these lungs that allow us to breathe the clouds, but we still remember somewhere inside us. We still remember. We may have tadpoled out onto the land that many millions of years ago, but we didn't go that far from the water. And we're still about 70% water, is that right? Inside our bodies, so most of us is water. So maybe the water in our bodies remembers we come from the water. And maybe the water in our bodies remembers that we belong to something larger than we are. And that belonging can be something that we need now and again when we're by the mountain lake or the beach or in the rainstorm. By the waters of Babylon I sat and wept, a psalmist writes. I've never been to the waters of Babylon myself. I have been, think of this today, to the 9/11 memorial. I'm sure some of you have been there. And it's a haunting and beautiful place. If you haven't been there, on the site that the World Trade Center once stood, there are these kind of inverted fountains. There are 30-foot waterfalls starting below ground level and going deep into the earth. The architect, Michael Arad, said these waterfalls represent absence made visible. The water is constantly rushing into the void, but the void is never filled. It's a poignant and difficult place, but also a peaceful one at the same time. Like millions of other people, I sat by these waterfalls and thought about the world. I thought about the kind of hatred that caused 9/11. I thought about the wars that followed and all the deep griefs, all those absences that will never be filled. And all the time, the water flowed in the background. And all the time, there was the sound of the water cascading down, and that peace so near. For all the worries of the world and all my own worries, that peace so near, it almost surprised me. That peace of the water. There is great suffering in this world. There are acts of wickedness and violence. There's a lot of things in this world that make us want to cry out, and cry out. Let loose your tears. You are 70% water. You come from the oceans, so why not express that pain in tears? And at the same time, even as we sit and weep, there is in the waters that sense of peace. And I think we crave this peace. We seek it. The 70% of us that is water reaches out to the rivers, the oceans, the memorial fountains. We crave that peace. And of course, modern life can make us feel unmoored. We're constantly going this way and that. The pace of life, even if we're just at home on our screens, the pace of life seems so fast. And where we are going is so bewildering. We feel pushed this way and that, removed from the realness of life as if we're somehow just another item of data on a computer screen somewhere. But that's not who we are. We are a part of everything. We are a force of nature. We are the wave and we are the ocean. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote about how The Buddha advised us to look more deeply in order to reach the nirvana at the core of our being. What does this mean? How do we reach this nirvana, which Thich Nhat Hanh says we already are? The wave doesn't have to try to be a wave, it's just a wave. And we're a wave, we're a part of this nature, even just the way we are, even in our imperfect way we go about our days. We are this world that we see all around us, and that's not to belittle the worries. You may be worried you don't have the money to pay the rent, your back pain may be troubling you most of the day. All this is true, but it's not the whole of reality. At the same time, you are also the waterfall. You are the blue sky. You are the clouds drifting effortlessly across. And I know this doesn't magically wipe out the pain and the worries and all the things that may trouble us, but we are wider than our individual troubles. We can access the peace of nature because that's who we are. It probably doesn't surprise you looking at me, but I was a surfer for about 10 minutes and I wasn't very good. I was on holiday and they, you had a chance to do surfing, so why not? And went out on our little board. And I don't know if you've ever done surfing. You start on the sand, which was a great place to start. I liked it on the sand. You got on your little surfboard and you practice getting up. You can sort of push yourself up to your knees and all that. And I thought, this is great. I can do this. I can just about do a push-up, so I thought I'm in good shape for this. And then you do it in the water, right? Like, it's kind of like life. I think I could do life in the abstract. And then the reality of life hits. You're in the water, and the water pushes you this way and that. And when you're just waiting, you don't notice how much the water goes this way and that. But when you're trying to get up on the board, it's really hard. And you get up and you're trying to push yourself up and just kind of take control of this surfboard. Just take control and get your feet up. And I could just about manage, I could get up, but then you get up and you're still trying to take control. And we don't have control of the waves. And then you just fall over. Which in a way is all right, because we are the waters and I seek the waters, and falling into the waters wasn't that bad. But it reminded me that we can't always take control. We have to be the waves. And I like to think that somewhere in those 10 or 15 minutes that I was actually surfing, I felt that connection, that I was the waves. When I had those moments where I went about 5 feet on that surfboard, I was able to forget that I was an individual on a surfboard and I was rolling along. And we are that, in a way, all our lives, and after our lives, we return to the ocean, we return to the earth. You are the river. You are the still lake reflecting the sky. We can try to control everything. We can grab onto that surfboard, and sometimes there's a time to push ourselves up and get up on our feet. But then at the end of the day, we are the waves. Whether there's a board between us and the waves or we're just drifting along inside it. You are the rivulet making its way to the sea. Maybe we should just appreciate that. The great songwriter, writer, and Buddhist monk Leonard Cohen writes, "If you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day." If you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day. There's so much to make us seasick, to jolt us about. But at the end of the day, we are the ocean. You don't have to try too hard to become it. That's who we are. So maybe if we just slow down a little bit and just appreciate that we are a part of nature, a part of the amazing force of nature, which doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we're all powerful. It means that we can be a part of something beautiful and we drift along. Maybe we don't have to be quite so seasick because we belong. We belong to the ocean. We are part of the ocean. We are the ocean. I invite you, now that you've had a surfing lesson, which I'm sure you didn't sign up for, I invite you to feel within you those waters flowing. As the rain falls, as we exit this place in a few minutes, you are the rivers of the world. Rivers flow through you, and no matter what you are going through right now, there is a peace within you and a peace that extends outward from you to the larger rivers, the larger oceans. Let us live into that peace and cherish it. Let us learn to love the earth and love ourselves because we are the earth. If you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day. But we are the ocean, and we can become it, and we can be it. Amen. Now we're going to take our offering, which is part of our how we survive as a congregation. I was trying to think of an ocean metaphor, but I came up empty. And there are many different ways to give. You can donate online on PayPal. You can make a check payable to you, Catskills. We are many different. I came up with it. We're many different drops of water that contribute to a great ocean of caring and inspiration. And we all contribute in many ways. If you can't contribute financially, thank you for being a part of this service and a part of this congregation. It means a lot. So as we have our offering, we will also have our offertory, which is by Duke Ellington and Rex Stewart, Mobile Bay. One coming, I thank you for all your that you do to contribute to this place, this gathered community. So one more on the chat, that this virtual water, this is from Barbara and Andrew, comes via our well, and the water that lives under it. Does anybody else have? We'll now have our closing song that we sing together. Thank you for the music today, choir and Catherine. And we're going to sing it, we're going to try it a cappella. We're going to sing, I've got peace like a river. So you don't need anything, just surf the waves. You sing it along with us, we'll call it out, and you'll get the hang of it. So, peace like a river.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Tears like raindrops. I've got tears like raindrops.
Amen. Are you glad you're here today? Yeah. Friends, you can be seated. You have strength within you. You have rivers within you. You have peace within you. You have tears and pain within you. You are part of nature, and you are something glorious and grand and gentle and beautiful. And all that you need to do is live into who you are, which is not just an individual alone, but part of something, part of communities, part of nature, part of the flow of water from one form to another. Live into that. Ride the waves, be the waves, and let us cherish the opportunity to live this wave, to be this next coming wave, to be who we are. Let us live into that peace and share it with anyone we come into contact with, and all will be well. Amen. We extinguish our chalice with our closing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you to all our worship leaders, Jenny, Tom, I'm going to forget somebody, Catherine, Jake, and Amel, everybody who helped out today, Karen. Now our worship has ended, and now let our service begin. Go in peace, everyone. We'll have coffee and refreshments outside or online. Join us for online breakout.